Hi Grandma, today we're going to talk about cholesterol, the bad and good one. I will start with the bad one, the low density lipoprotein or the LDL, which has the highest content of cholesterol. It is synthesized by the action of liver enzyme called hepatic lipase on this molecule, the intermediate density lipoprotein, which will lead to the formation of the LDL. LDL has a protein attached to it called apolipoprotein B100, uh, and this protein will bind to the LDL receptor in the liver in a process that leads to the removal of 75% of the LDL mass in our circulation. Also, this protein will bind to the extrahepatic cells, the LDL receptors over there, and it will, as well as it will bind to the proteoglycan, extracellular proteoglycan in the heart arteries, and this will facilitate its deposition in the coronary arteries and eventually lead to the development of atherosclerosis. We have seven types of low density lipoprotein. They are like different, like, depending on the size of the particle. The most risky situation is having type 3, a high level of type 3 low density lipoprotein, which is also called pathogen B. Pathogen B is associated with a threefold rise in the risk of coronary arteries disease. Why? Because LDL3 doesn't like do not bind like easily to the LDL receptor in the liver, so stay longer in the circulation. Also, LDL3 bind easily to the arterial endothelial cells and to the extracellular proteoglycans. Lastly, LDL3 is more prone to oxidation. This is another important process in the development of atherosclerosis. What's the optimal goal? Ideally, we would like it to keep it less than 100. We like to keep the low density lipoprotein level less than 100 milligram per deciliter, but it will all depends on the number of risk factors we carry to develop coronary artery disease. These risk factors include hypertension, smoking, family history of premature coronary artery disease, our age, and also the low level of high density lipoprotein. We're going to talk about that shortly. So if we have one risk factor or less, it will be 100. Like we're looking for 160 milligram per deciliter. Two or more will be 130. Generally, it will be 130 milligram per deciliter. And lastly, if we already have a coronary heart disease or one of its equivalent, like diabetes, peripheral vascular diseases, or stroke, we would like to keep it. We must keep it less than 100, and some new recommendation and are even talking about less than 70 milligram per deciliter. How do we reach these levels? Um, we need to lose weight through active exercise. We need to have more healthy food like fish, vegetables, less carbohydrate intake, and lastly will be medication. There are different classes with different way of action like statins, phenofibrates, and Zetia, which prevent the cholesterol absorption through our intestine. Now, the good cholesterol is the high density lipoprotein, which has the highest concentration of proteins in these particles. Basically, these proteins are A1, apolipoprotein A1 and A2. HDL are released from our intestine and the liver as nascent molecules. This A1 protein on these molecules will activate the liver enzyme called LCAT, and this LCAT will catalyze a reaction that will produce cholesterol ester. Cholesterol ester can be taken up and stored in these nascent molecules, which now will change to HDL3 and HDL2, and last HDL1 of increasing size. The larger the particle size, the more protective as you can see here, the larger, the more protective. This HDL will be taken up by the liver through attachment to a receptor called SRB1, and these receptors are very important in removing excess cholesterol. Excess cholesterol will be released from the liver into bile and get out of our body. HDL level must be kept over 60 milligram per deciliter. Levels lower than 30 milligram per deciliters is associated with a higher rapid increase in the risk of coronary artery disease. How do we get these levels? Again, active exercise, 120 minutes per week, niacin supplements, and medication like statin and phenylphybrin. Okay, talk to you later, Grandma. Bye.